Warning, folks. The video quality, trigger warning. The video quality is pretty poor. The sound is probably terrible. And I do the video raw. You understand? I don't clip it. I don't snip it. Consider yourself warned. Today I would like to talk about AntiFa. Is AntiFa anarchism? No, it's not. Goodbye, have a nice day. I need to explain, of course. No, it's not, and it has never been. Okay, it has never been anarchism. Oh, then what is AntiFa? I mean, they claim to be anarchists. Yeah, communists, when they go into subversive mode, a communist is talking about the communist is one of those, woo! No, it's true. When communists go into subversion mode, they claim they are anything. Everything goes. Okay, they want to push their message forward. They don't care. Whatever is it they dress it with, as long as it's out there, as long as people believe it. So how can you say communism, or how can you say anarchism is not, or AntiFa is a communist organization? Or check its history, check its background, check the people who formed it, to say the least. For instance, there are three major branches going on right now. Three movements have risen from that name. The AntiFa. What is AntiFa? It's anti-fascist action. So there are three stories to the same story. The original, as far as I know, is the German one. That was the Antifascistische Aktion, was proclaimed, forgive me, I don't speak German, so bite me, was proclaimed by the German Communist Party, KPD, in the newspaper Rote Fahne, means red flag, okay, red, not black, in 1932, and held its first rally in Berlin on 10 July 1932, in the capital of the Weimar Republic. And of course, its intention was to fight the Nazis in an organized manner. Okay, that's where it really comes from. Then there is the Antifascistische Aktion, trying to make a Swedish accent, that was founded in Sweden in 1993. Okay, and well, their main goal is to attack the Christian Democrats, and who formed them? The Swedish Marxists, the Swedish autonomist Marxists subculture. You understand? Marxists formed the AntiFa in Sweden. Okay, and then there is, in the United States, the current whose members define themselves as more as anarcho-communists and anarcho-syndicalists. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's as far as I went. And I've been talking about this topic pretty much the last years. So, because I'm baffled that I came back to anarchism only to find out that there's a lot of communists all over the place. Now, when I was a kid, and this is when I joined anarchism, we didn't talk about communism at all. We read a lot, we did a lot of great stuff, like anarchists found out that buildings were being held, you know, like they didn't let entire blocks of buildings, entire blocks in cities were not being rented, were not being used intentionally to keep prices higher. This is even kind of stupid if you think about it, because if they rented all the buildings, then you understand they would gain some money out of it. But no, they did it in a way that they would get more money if they just kept some buildings uh, for rent and some not for rent. So when the anarchists, and I am saying the anarchists, found it out, they started, not to say we, they started, I didn't do nothing, didn't do nothing. We started, or they started, she started, he started, um, occupying those buildings. And it was done in such a clever way that when the police finally was called, at first, the police wanted to do something, but when the people found out that there were entire buildings, and they did it thanks to the anarchists, that there were entire buildings in their cities that were not being rented to intentionally keep the prices high, the people started helping the anarchists. Do you understand? This is what went on when I was a kid, when I joined anarchists, when I joined anarchism. For those who do not know, there is a difference between anarchism and anarchy. Check a dictionary. I'm not going to get into that because I'm specifically talking about the AntiFa thing, and I'm just explaining. I don't have anything against those kids. They are trying, like, those are the tools they were given, those are the tools they are using to something, whatever is it. I think what they're doing is wrong in several ways. They are attacking innocent people in the street. They're not fighting fascists, let's be honest here. They're attacking anyone who just happens to disagree with them. They are carrying that revolutionary aspect of communism. Because if you do not know the difference, the main difference between communism and anarchism, the goal is technically the same. What is the goal? People should be free. Everyone should be free. We should live free. We should be the masters of our own life. We shouldn't have rulers over us and all that jazz. So they claim to have the same goal. They claim to have, and I'm getting there. But the communists, they believe that it can only be achieved through a bloody revolution. Oh, the revolution doesn't have to be bloody, but it's always bloody. Because people don't want to be communists. And suddenly the communists take on arms and they start trying to force everyone to be communist in the name of their revolution. And there are principles that are very intrinsic, and several of them, you can read about them, so you can have a better understanding that I'm not also going to get into detail. Because this is not what this video is about. So check what's their goals and their system and how they want to do it. But basically, they believe in the revolutionary aspect. The anarchists don't. The anarchists believe that in order to achieve absolute freedom, you have to be the change. And this is a very long process. It must happen, the change, the shift into absolute freedom must happen naturally. It should not be forced upon anyone. I mean, that's the principle, right? You shouldn't be forced, therefore you shouldn't force others as well. They must come to the same understanding by their own realization. And how can you do this? By being yourself the example. Gandhi is considered an anarchist, currently anarcho-pacifist. No, an anarchist. Cut all those colorful flags, Leave the colors for those who worship colors. Let's stick to the black. Gandhi believed in those principles. Like, he loved Tolstoy, for instance, who is a great anarchist. For those who did not know, a genius, an anarchist? How can they be? Anarchism is so stupid. It's not really. It's a fascinating concept. It needs to be worked on really hard, thanks to our brushing with socialism, because then it became kind of dogmatic, and then it needed redefinition, so it was created that, like, you can classify yourself currently as a pure anarchist or pure black, or however they want to call it. Fact is, when I was a kid, there was only anarchism, period, and we didn't waste time with this bullshit. You understand? And we did things, we got things going. Today, there's a lot of communism into anarchism, but don't you worry, anarchists are figuring it out, they're doing things about it there. Eventually they'll get tired. Now their eyes have been opened, so let's see what happens. And just for the fun of it, just kicking them out. After all, every time that the communists took power, one of the things that they start doing, they start killing all anarchists like crazy. But I need to, I'm digressing, I think. So basically, and you can check, like, I'm posting links below, so you can check for yourself. Basically, the communists started AntiFa, and they are the ones maintaining it, the Marxists more specifically. So now you know the difference, okay? Anarchism, you got to be the change. The change is natural. It must happen through time as we evolve. People will start realizing that they have more freedoms, that they have more rights, that they can stand up for themselves, that they don't need to take nonsense from no one. While communists believe in the revolutionary aspect. You can only achieve true socialism by the means of a revolution. So, the difference is clear there. And communists claim to have the same goals. One day I might do a video about it, how this is all bullshit, but propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. It's always propaganda with the communists. I'm sick of tired of it. Nice people, I know several, they're nice people. Don't have any problem with them at all. They seem to be nice people. They're just kind of rooting for what I personally believe. I can be wrong, but I personally believe is wrong, because they have a history of like over 100 years of killing people either by revolution or by famine, because the economical model doesn't work. I mean, it's an economical theory without a model. When you study economics, now I'm talking about economics. I've studied economics, therefore. When you study economics, in the first year of economics already, you learn that every economic theory needs an economic model. And it's done by mathematics. And it's very complicated. And it's usually, it used to take 4 to 6 days to do a calculation. But thanks to Excel, it takes 3 to 4 minutes nowadays to do a calculation for an economical model. Therefore, you needed to be really good with finances to develop an economical model. But there we go, we have those lazy bourgeoisie that's probably too lazy or too stupid to finish university. Back in the days, nowadays, university is not the same as university was 100 years, 200 years ago. Nowadays, university is just a continuation, and one day I'm going to make a video about it. It's just a continuation of school, of high school, you know, it's disappointing. I'm severely disappointed. You learn a lot. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot. It's fascinating in some senses, but there's a lot of political bickering going on into it, and religious bickering, and yeah, it's just stupid in so many. You really like when I joined university, I thought it was going to be, you know, finally I can come up with my theories, I can test my ideas, I can clash with other people. They're all there to discuss which idea is the best, what is the most factual, what can you verify, how to verify, how to. No, it was a huge disappointment, but I'm not getting into that. Let's stick to the topic here. Fact is, universities today are not the same as 200 years ago. So those lazy bourgeoisies back then, they probably weren't good enough to study economics, so they were kicked out. Universities would kick people out. That's as good as they were if they were not good enough in what they were studying. Nowadays they're kicked out if they say a rude word. For heaven's sake, if they say a wrong word, a problematic word, a microaggression, like it's not even an aggression, it's a micro thing that could be perhaps considered, you know, we have fascism in universities today. That's what it is. Because at the end of the day, those are things you can't say because it's an ideological question. And fuck that. That's not a university. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not. If you cannot open your ideas fully and debate them and be debated and be bashed for it or ridiculed if they are indeed ridiculous, you shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be a university. Safe spaces, for fuck's sake. Do I need to say more? Did we have safe spaces in universities 200 years, 100 years ago? No, we didn't. So why do we need them now? It's kindergarten, like it's basic school to kindergarten. It's crazy. You can see I'm very happy with universities currently. Thing is, so those lazy rich kids formed this ideology without any economical model properly. None was made. I never seen, and in all the debates I have been, the last 10 years at least, with communists, whenever I ask them, and I ask you, by the way, if you have an economical model that can, you know, of the communist economical theory, please send it to me, because none I have seen. Therefore, I can conclude there is no economical model for that economical theory. Therefore, it shouldn't even be considered an economical theory in the first place, because there's hypothesis first, and I mean, I need to explain that to people who are studying at universities, folks. Think about that, because they don't know that first there's hypothesis, then theory, after they don't know those things. And they read a lot. I'm pretty sure they read propaganda, lots of it. Oh, that person was so great. Look at those crappy ideas. They were awesome. They were always misunderstood and always appealing to feelings, you know. Anyway, so as you can see, there's a clear difference: revolutionary aspect and natural development. Revolutionary aspect, natural development. Kill all opposition, make them understand by being the change, by doing that yourself, others will follow. Sure, not everyone right now, but eventually they will. And because of recent successes in anarchism, in anarchist practice, things like, I dare to say, dun dun dun, Gamergate, for instance, being one, the whole Pepe thing and the meme wars and all that, those are clear manifestations of the anarchist mindset. It's growing, it's becoming part of the human pathos. The people are revolting in a smart way. And I can make a video about Gamergate some other day. But if you have some doubts, what do you mean Gamergate? I mean, what the hell? Aren't they a bunch of people running after one? No, no. There are a lot of women in Gamergate, lots of them. There are transsexuals in Gamergate. Some of the best gamers are, if you do not know, transsexuals themselves. There was this poor black kid who actually he made the Not Your Shield, which is also a manifestation of an anarchist movement. And I'm going to get why. Why are you saying it is? No, it's crazy, it's bullshit. Because there are no leaders. I don't know if you noticed, Gamergate had no leaders. Sure, they have some prominent minds that, like some opportunists, I saw a lot of opportunists trying to ride that wave, and some were successful. Good for them. Good for them. Because they helped, even if that was not their direct intent, but self gratification, either by money or popularity or whatever rocks them. They're still pushing for the anarchist mindset, no leaders. And they had to say, I'm not a leader, to be a part of it. That's anarchism. When those buildings were taken over, they had no leaders. And this is why the police couldn't really catch anyone, because, there are no ringleaders there. It's gone. And when the police finally, they wanted to pick those occupational buildings, they wanted to pick the people, but then when the populace, the normal people, the average people found out that they were actually being exploited, they started supporting, they would throw bags of food, they would go to the supermarket, they would buy groceries, and they would deliver it to the anarchists. Why? Because they were fed up, because they were being tricked for so long. And the anarchists brought it up, so they were helping the anarchists, so the police couldn't really do anything. They needed to follow the rules and follow not to look bad. So when they finally broke in, the anarchists had built tunnels and they were gone from the place. Gone. Whoop. There was nobody. The statement had been made, the laws were changing, the things were going on, the people were made aware. Problem solved. Laws change. You don't see abandoned blocks nowadays in the city of Copenhagen. What did they do? They start bringing in those. Long story, no? This is, again, I'm digressing. Let's, just to keep the price, that's the why. They don't give them. It's not humanitarian. They're doing it for profit. And that's a little issue I have with the capitalist mindset. It kind of ruins a bit for everyone. But come on, I criticize communism. I can just as well make them a little happy, give them something, right? I know many communists, don't get me wrong. They are nice people, they really are, I mean it. They believe it, but they believe in the good of it. They don't see the twists and turns. They believe in the good of it, and I love them for it. They're nice people, they are nice people. They're misguided, but nice people, of course. I think anarchism is better than communism, so perhaps I'm a bit biased myself. But it's just the idea of, I saw all the pictures of what Pol Pot did. I saw all the mess. I saw the misery. I saw the pain, the suffering. I've seen in South America, I've seen the system change from what used to be nationalism into socialism, and it was horrible. The schools were great. They became horrifying. Like when the shift happened, the teachers wouldn't even show up to school. Like the kids would have free periods from, like, they only have 1 hour in the beginning and 1 hour in the end, and they had to be waiting, and then they were just idle most of the time in the school. It was horrible. And this was when the teachers more and more became pro-communism, pro-socialism, workers' party, and all that. And the teachers, they started using the kids. They would force the kids to go into the public manifestations, and I heard that from teachers, as a human shield if the police showed up. I remember the mad parents talking with it. You don't do that, what are you thinking? I don't want my kid being a part of that. But hey, they wanted to try socialism, they wanted to try communism, they were repressed, right? They were oppressed. Anyway, I think I said enough. I think it's pretty clear. Do I need to elaborate further why Antifa is not anarchist, an anarchist movement? I mean, there is the history, okay? Those are the facts. I'm posting some below, you can check it for yourself. It's a Marxist, communist movement created by the communists, maintained by the communists, with the goal of revolution. Completely not anarchist. This is not what anarchism preaches. Preaches. This is not what anarchism believes in. This is not how anarchists do it. Do you understand? There's a clear difference. Unfortunately, thanks to communists, anarchists have gotten a really bad image, because during the 19th century, like the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, anarchists thought that it would be a good idea to join the socialist movements, because they seemed to care about the whole, the people, the oppressed, and all that. And it seemed to be an avenue for the anarchists to speak. And also, anarchism is way older than what people believe in. It wasn't born in the 19th century. It was already practiced several times through history, way before the 19th century. Okay, it's believed to be like the early societies were not communists, as some people want you to believe. And how can you say that? Do you have any evidence to back that? Sure, because 40 years after the Communist Manifesto was written, and the Capital and all that, they started finding out the burial graves of old civilizations, of the Stone Age and so forth, the Bronze Age, and people were buried with their personal belongings and with their symbols of status and whatnot. Children had higher burials, like they were buried differently, and really beautiful stuff. Like children were highly regarded. So it's clear that the social ranking was not really according to power. It was more according to a certain level of emotional attachment, I would say. So, because the children receive really special burial than most people. And this kind of proves that the whole equality, egalitarian thing of that communists preached, that everything was shared equally, and people didn't believe like atheistic principles, And again, don't take me out of context here. I'm not criticizing atheism. I'm just saying that they were also obviously not atheistic, because communism believes that, like religion was something that came way much later on. But I mean, if we are going to level, and if you don't know that about communism, perhaps you should, based on what I've read so far, could be proven wrong, but please do, because so far nobody could. Communists literally believed, if they stopped believing it, but around the 19th century, 20th century, they believed that the family people, is a bourgeoisie invention. It's an invention of the bourgeoisie. What is bourgeoisie? The high middle class, the rich, the wealthy. To fool people, which is nonsensic, because the whole Middle Ages, like feudalism, is completely based on the principle of the family. The family needs to have honor, and the family should be ashamed if one of the members of the family or clan, Bronze Age, Iron Age, perhaps even Stone Age, do you understand? Like, everything is based in the families. Like, you go to fucking Scotland and you'll see the kilts, they have a specific set of patterns from the Celtic times, or Celtic times would be more correct actually, from the Celtic times, because the Celtic language, the C sounds like K and all that. Does it really? Well, you tell me. So everything was based in the family. So it's not an invention. It can't be an invention from the industrial age, like communists claim. So there's a lot of things that people didn't know in the 19th century, in the 20th century, early 20th century, that we know now. So another reason that communism is flawed. But I'm not here to trash communism. I'm just here to explain why Antifa is not an anarchist movement. Because it was neither created by anarchists, it was created by communists. And it's maintained by communists, Marxists, amongst them all. Nothing to be terrified about or anything, I'm just telling it as it is. And I'm pretty sure those kids, some of those kids might believe they are being anarchistic. But, kids, they believe the darnest things. I know when I was a kid, I did. And this just needs specification. They need to be clarified about that. It's not an anarchist movement. They are not anarchists. And if they say they are anarcho-communists, for the love of God, in the late 19th century and early 20th century, I can understand. Most peasants didn't know the difference between stone and rock, you understand? They weren't literate. There was a proletariat in Occidental society. We don't have proletarians anymore, because what does proletarian means? It means absolute unskilled labor. People who can't read or write or do anything right, because they don't know how to do it. So they take the lowest, you understand? We don't have. What do we have is a middle class. The proletariat, if anything, became the middle class. That's what we have today. Again, another development that kind of confirms the anarchist mindset of how things should happen, how things should go, how the changes are happening naturally without the need of revolution. Because capitalism was already in full swing when communism was made up. And actually their major problem of the communists was how to convince the capitalistic workers to join communism. They needed to lie to the workers working for the capitalists to convince them, because otherwise they couldn't. Reason also why communism wins easily in feudal societies than in capitalistic societies properly. The workers are happy. They have everything and more in capitalist society. Yeah, I'm sorry I have to say, but I just recently found out. I mean, when I was a kid, we read about all those things. We knew. Nowadays, they just jump into stuff. It's crazy. Back in the days, oh my God, I sound so old. Whew. So I think it was clear, right? I mean, you can see after all this the difference. Antifa is not anarchist. Forget it. Never attach yourself. If you happen to be an anarchist, stay away from them. I can tell you what to do, but consider it sound advice. Because once again, they're trying to push all the bad things that they do in the back of the anarchists. So they can blame the anarchists. So later on, in their minds, they can persecute and kill all of them. Do you understand? That's what's behind it. If you don't believe that everything is just flowers and candy and sweet and pink unicorns, okay? Because the world isn't. If you're a bit more rational, little less emotional, okay, you will clearly see that that's the goal. Because they've done it before. They've done it with Magno. They managed to fool the anarchist peasants into believing that the two things could be connected together. And Magno, when he found out, because he actually wanted to practice what the anarcho-communists were preaching, to find out that it was just communism. But then it was too late for Magno. He couldn't get out of it. With the communists in his back, he needed to go on in that boat. But he realized a lot of stuff. And he writes about it in all of his books. What was wrong with communism and how anarchism should be. So he put a lot of new theories that we should be questioning, we should be trying, we should be answering to, and leaving the stuff that doesn't work, that belonged in the times when patients were treated with leeches and the street lamps were lit by kerosene. Yeah, those were the times. A lot has changed in our society. We are in pure age of information now. We should be moving on. Now, this is the thing. While socialism is stagnant, anarchism is constantly fluid, okay? It goes with the society it lives with. Different from socialism, that has some dogmas that they have to stick to certain ways. And, all means of production must be controlled by the state / political party / great leader / commune / fancy word for the same thing. A group of people who then gather and decide for all. No, but we all decide. The opinion of those are a bit worthy more than your opinion. Believe me, sociopaths have absolute power. That's their wet dream if they could have a communist society, because that's what that's what sociopaths want. Those rules and regulations so they can use it against everyone, because they are not emotional, not really. They can fake emotions, but they don't have the empathy that we know people, and it's proven. It has been done research, and they found out they lack a specific protein between the neurons that give us empathy. Sociopaths and psychopaths don't have that. So they can't even understand sometimes why we behave in certain ways. They can mimic it, but they can't understand it. So for a society organized under socialism, it's the wet dream of any sociopath or psychopath. They can just climb the ladders. Their nightmare is an anarchist society, that everyone is the law. Everyone is the rule. That scares the bejesus out of them, because then they can't toy with the rules and regulations to ensnare and trick people and blackmail them and torture, plague them, and put them in jail if they get in the way. Then none of this exists. That's also another difference. Oh, but the ultimate goal is absolutely freedom. Look, we have what, over 100 years of communism being tried. It doesn't work. Yeah, I'm going to mention this. It doesn't work because it doesn't. Prove me one society that works with communism. Well, what about anarchism? That's another matter. Has been tried, failed because the communists decided to kill them all. And I'm laughing for hysterical reasons. Not because I think it's funny, because it's not. I'm laughing because I'm nervous, because it's fucking unbelievable that people are not reading in the pure age of information, that they are letting the shit plague them. Again, history repeating. Anywho, links below, you can see has nothing really to do with anarchists. They are not anarchists. If they say they are anarchists, they're lying. If they say they are anarcho-communists, for fuck's sake. What's the word for that? There's a denomination for that in English. Oxymoron. That's an oxymoron. Those two things don't combine. And believe me, anarchists tried. We saved Lenin's ass, for fuck's sake. Anarchists saved Lenin's ass. The White Army was going to get him. He was thinking of fleeing Russia. If it wasn't for the anarchists, he would have been dead. And what did the anarchists get? Well, betrayal, as usual. So, it has been tried. Read Machno. Read Machno. Oh, but Machno was an anarcho-communist. Yeah, he was an anarcho-communist. Back in the days that they didn't know better and he didn't have any other choice, so he picked it. He was sent to jail, 17 years old, where he was groomed into anarcho-communism by another guy that was in jail. So that's what he went with. That's what he had. But he realized all the wrongs. He confided. Not only Machno pleaded in the end of his days and wrote about it several times, again and again, that people anarchists shouldn't stick with communists, with socialists, although communism is a form of socialism, but with socialists, anarchists shouldn't stick with socialists and with capitalists, that they should do their own thing. Anarchism is something else. Not only he has emphasized that several times in his writing, he has also confided in his writings that during the Ukrainian Revolution and after, he should have taken the side of the nationalists. And oddly enough, crazy enough, the anarcho-communists today are actually using the flag colors that belonged to the Ukrainian nationalists, something that they claim to be radically against. That's as stupid as this move. Sorry, I have to say it because it is. Not just the name, but not just the time in history we are that we, people should know better. But also the flag that they are using was a highly nationalistic, fascistic, call it that, movement in Ukraine. Like that's just the cherry in the top. So if you ever wonder, if I ever start laughing madly every time I hear that, it's because of it. Okay, it's ridiculous. Has nothing to do with real anarchism. and it's just communism. So when you hear someone saying they're anarcho-communists, what they are really saying is they are flat-out communists. You want to try, you want to make a test, very easy. I can prove it. You can try it yourself. Criticize Marx. Make fun of Marx, Engels, make fun of communists. Make fun, like say a joke, something ridiculous about communists to an anarcho-communist. Tell me the results. If you doubt, if you think I'm going too far with this crazy thing that I'm saying, do this test. Check them out. Make fun of Marx. Make fun of Engels. Make fun of those great names of communism. See what happens. Say, oh, Mao killed a lot of people. See how they react. But hey, they're claiming to be anarchists. The biggest one, not the biggest perhaps, but one of the biggest victims of communism of all times. They should be pissed at the communists for all the nasty things that communists did to the anarchists. And no, criticize the communists and you'll see how a anarcho-communist reacts. They're communists. Forget the whole anarchist thing. They're communists. They are using the name of anarchy to do nasty things to blame us for what they are doing. And that's wrong. And it should stop. This is one of the reasons I'm doing this video. Hopefully, a good soul out there can hear me, if you believe in that kind of stuff. But that's for another topic. I think it was clear enough. And yes, the video fading into black is intentional.